The first thing that every man must remember is life is about resilience and persistence. And let me go into my story. So, when I was younger, I was into basketball. I was from a small country town, into basketball, heavy. I had my next door neighbor. He was like my big brother, man. He was about 4 years older than me. Cold basketball player, man. He was known, for having the ball, handling skills, the shot, whatever, whatever. Cold basketball player, man. I wanted to be just as cold, man, because we was competitive like that, man. So as a child, all I did was play basketball. Like so many kids nowadays, especially black kids, right? A lot of us we play basketball. And I'm from the country, so I'm from a country town. So all it was to do was play basketball and chase girls, right? And that's what we did. But so from junior high all the way up to high school, my bro, he was the starting point guard in high school. Like I said, he was 4 years older than me, and so I was practicing so that whenever I made it to high school, my goal was to make it to varsity, like my ninth or 10th grade year. And mind you, I was 5'8", probably 125 pounds soaking wet. So I was a small dude, but I had big dreams. I had big goals, right? And so I thought, like so many other people, so many other young men thought that they were gonna make the NBA. That's what they were gonna do after high school. And so you kind of have to have a track of getting noticed in high school and making it to a big school to then make it to the NBA. Not knowing that it's going to the NBA is like hitting the lotto. That's why they call the shit the lottery. So anyway, when I got in high school in ninth grade, I didn't make varsity. Now, of course, we had a really good varsity team. So honestly, it wasn't really a spot on varsity for me. We had a nice varsity team, man. And actually, my big bro, man, he got the MVP of the whole district, man. And just to give you an idea how good he was, and he taught me how to play, and I've just always had that work ethic to want to get better, right? I did martial arts my whole life coming up as a kid, and so that taught me a lot of discipline. It taught me how to practice on the same things over and over to get better at them. And so I translated that into basketball. And so I was the first one in the gym, the last one out the gym, right? But ninth grade year, made the team, but didn't start. Didn't really even get a lot of playing time, right? That was very disappointing. Sophomore year. So throughout that summer, I said, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to work 10 times harder than everybody else. And I did. I didn't play any other sports. So my sophomore year, I didn't make varsity. Some of my other buddies who didn't work half as hard as I did made it, right? So I couldn't understand why didn't I make varsity as a sophomore. But I liked the ladies. And so, the coach would be around the school and see me with the girls and whatever. So whatever reason it was, I felt like the coach kind of had something against me. But even though he knew me since middle school, because I had been coming to the high school open gyms since middle school to play ball. And so the coach knew I was a good player because he's watched me play for years. Any little thing I did wrong, the coach would just get in my ass about it. It's like I couldn't make a mistake. It got in my head a little bit, man. I let the coach get in my head. And so when it came time to like really show what I can do to the best of my abilities, it became me thinking more about not messing up than it became about me being that player that I knew that I practiced to be. It was and even when we would in practice, if we running around, we doing laps or whatever, he was PJ. He would always refer everything. He would always compare basketball to life. I don't know if any of y'all ever played for a coach like that would basketball was pretty much their whole life, and so everything was compared to the game of basketball. So you cut a corner when you running those laps. Hey, BJ, stop cutting my corners. I don't want to see you cutting my corners no more, because in life you can't cut corners in life. That's a phrase that I'll never get out of my head. You can't cut corners in life, and shit, he was right. But I used to think he was picking on me. One day he said something. He said, don't get upset about me picking on you. He said, now when I stop telling you stuff, then that's when you should be concerned. That time, that didn't really resonate with me at the time as a high schooler. In my mind, I'm just like, man, you got all these people on varsity that don't work half as hard as I do, and I feel cheated. I held that in for a while, man. I went to play on JV, and I was a dominant player on the JV squad. The coach that I had, I was very comfortable with him. He allowed me to play my game, right? And so we had a really good season, and towards the end of the season, our varsity team, we did have a really, really good varsity team. We had a lot of great players. Just naturally great players, right? Didn't even put in half of the work. But I was asked to play on varsity towards the end of the season and throughout the playoffs. So we went through playoffs, did pretty good. I got a little bit of playing time, but it was cool just being with the varsity team, right? My junior year, I had the option to play on the varsity team, but I kind of felt like I wasn't gonna really get the opportunity that I felt like I felt like I still had something to prove, and so I decided to stay on the JV team again. Stayed on the JV team, had a great year, had a super great year, had fun. Towards the end of the year, played with varsity all the way through my senior year. We made it pretty far. We got all the way up to I think like regional finals or something like. We played Beaumont Ozane. This was Kendrick Perkins, the basketball player, NBA champion Kendrick Perkins. It was his last year. Played for Beaumont Ozane. I'll never forget this game. They blew us out. I don't know how many points we lost by, but it was our last senior game. And of course, I didn't even touch the floor that day. Even though we was getting blown out by 50, 60, I don't even know how many points, man. I'm embarrassed to say. But it was a great experience, man. But one of the things that stood out to me, man, is when we all got back to the bus, I sat towards the front. Everybody was quiet. Of course, everybody was disappointed for the loss. The coach got on the bus, and he came up to me. He said something to me. He said, BJ, he said, man, I'm sorry that I couldn't play you more or utilize you more. And that's all he said. And I thought about that because on that bus that day, I just reflected back to I'm supposed to make the NBA. But I'm looking at my track record throughout my high school season, and clearly I wasn't finna make nobody NBA team. And when he told me that, to me, what that said to me was that he saw my work ethic. He saw how hard I practiced. He noticed all the work that I put in, and he probably noticed that I put in more work than a lot of the people who touched that floor more than I did on the varsity team. Man, he didn't say that, but the way he said what he said, and why would he even come up to me and say that after that game? I felt like maybe that's what he meant, right? And so sometimes in life, man, we don't always get what we want. Things don't always work out how we plan them to work out. And although I'm using this basketball analogy to describe, I'm comparing, like my coach, this basketball analogy to life. As a man, it's not always about how many minutes you played on the basketball court, how many shots you put up, how many points you made. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the person that you became throughout that entire process. And so I take sports and I translate that over to life and to being a man. Because a lot of them things, a lot of those work ethics and a lot of those things I learned on the basketball court, it translated into life. And for a long time, I've always held kind of a grudge against my coach for years later. And I always felt like I still had something to prove. Even though I was no longer on the basketball court, I still felt like I had something to prove. And so I had a crazy work ethic just to get better. And I did. And again, it didn't happen always as fast as I wanted it to happen. And it didn't always look like I wanted it to look. But it taught me a lot. Basketball taught me a lot about teamwork. It taught me about letting go of resentment, because when I really reflected back many years later, I found a purpose. I found what the coach was trying to teach us. I found a deeper meaning of what the coach was trying to prepare us for, and that was for life. He used the game of basketball and compared it to life in many ways, from not cutting corners to just the work ethic, never giving up, and just pushing through regardless of how tired you are, man. So it had a positive impact on me eventually. And so I just want to say, sometimes, man, you have to just let go of the resentment, and you got to find a deeper meaning behind what things mean. You know, we ain't all meant to go to the NBA or be movie stars or whatever, but we all have a purpose. So I'm going to leave you with that. It's your boy B Straight.